Bills and Chiefs. Bills and Chiefs, every time they face off, it's fireworks. We have the Bills and Chiefs. We just remember what happened last time they faced off.
It was the greatest game ever.
Right now, the Bills are favored at 2.5. Going to Arrowhead, by the way.
So they're favorites in this game.
Which I don't know if I necessarily agree with. We'll go over our top 5 teams later. Both teams are going to probably be on that list, I imagine. But for me, I cannot pick against the Chiefs this year. I can't do it. I've doubted the Chiefs for too long. After watching how he picked apart the Buccaneers of all teams.
And then the Raiders down
and
17.
then the Raiders. No, Patrick Mahomes is on a whole nother level. Most certainly the MVP. We'll go over MVPs later on, but like, I can't. No, the Chiefs this year are the best team in football. Their offense moves seamlessly. Their running game is finally good. Their defense makes plays when it matters. The Chiefs are horrifying right now, and the Bills. I've seen a lot more cracks in the Bills' armor than I've seen in the Chiefs so far. The Chiefs, outside of that touchdown that the Colts got in the last seconds of that game against the Colts, they should be 5-0. And
if they had a kicker in that game, if Matt Amendola wasn't their kicker in that game, they would have beat the Colts. They should be undefeated.
Yeah, and then we have the Bills who they lost to the Dolphins because they couldn't play in close games. If this game is close, which it will be because they have 2 juggernauts facing off, I think the Chiefs take over, and I think they win this game.
It's also in Kansas City.
It's in Arrowhead, which is one of the loudest stadiums in all of football.
Yeah, this game, Mahomes is on another level that I feel like people don't appreciate. And the fact of the matter is, you fell down to Baltimore, and it was tough in that game. Josh Allen didn't necessarily play his best game, and the Ravens should have kicked it and gone to overtime instead of going for on 4th and goal and Lamar turning it over. So you have that game, which you probably shouldn't have won. And it showed me a lot of cracks where I wasn't necessarily secure that Josh Allen would come back and win. When the Raiders went up 17-0, I'm like, I'm not even worried. I had the feeling Mahomes was going to come back, and him dismantling the Bucs was the statement of, I'm here this year, I'm locked in, and when I sense a threat or I sense a challenge, I'm going to show up and be the best player in the game. It won't even be close. And now this year when Mahomes was playing, not even close. And they have a run game this year. Clyde Edwards-Helaire playing amazing. Great backup running back they picked up in the 7th round of the draft. Good pass catcher. And then Kelsey, Juju, all the players they brought in, it's working. And then they get Sky Moore involved a little bit on back-to-back wide receiver screens. And he looked like, okay, now we're starting to bring Sky Moore into the fold, which I think is going to be Andy Reid's secret weapon. You have him on kickoff returns, which is where they started Tyreek Hill, and now they're starting to get him involved in the screen game. His whole thing is fast. Mahomes loves his fast wide receivers. So I think it wasn't much, but I was like, okay, now they're consciously setting up plays specifically to get Sky Moore involved, which gave me like this offense has a whole nother level it can get to.
Oh, yeah. That's something that's scary. Patty Mahomes, 15 touchdowns, 2 picks, QBR of 110 this year. And that's in 5 games. So he's on pace for 50 touchdowns again.
He's limiting the picks. That's another thing.
He's on pace for roughly 50 touchdowns and 6 picks, which would be better than his season that he had when he threw 50 touchdowns, which is insane to me.
Yeah. I'm excited to see Mahomes evolve more than any other quarterback. Sure, is Josh Allen one of the most talented quarterbacks in the league? Yeah. But when I see Mahomes, I'm just in awe the whole time because I feel like we'll never see another player like him. And then he had some careless turnovers last year, but when we see him evolve this year where no Tyreek, he's picking the defense apart, making plays with his legs, and then he's picking up on how to not turn the ball over. If we see him have like a Aaron Rodgers type pick to touchdown to pick ratio with the sheer volume of touchdowns, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Because the game can still get slower for Mahomes.
Yeah, and I see him the way he's evolved as a leader. I think losing Tyreek might end up being the best thing for him.
And then getting
Because-
slandered.
Yeah, I mean, that's another thing that I didn't even mention, but like the fact that he has an arsenal of receivers that are all good, but they're not necessarily ones. Like you got the Jujus of the world, the Marquez Valdez-Scalings, who work better as twos. And then you mentioned the Sky Moore thing, who we both have been high on Sky Moore since the draft. We're like, oh, this guy operates like a Tyreek Hill. You have the Chiefs who know how to draft wide receivers. That's going to be lethal come down to when it comes time for the playoffs. If they can get Sky Moore involved, this offense is going to be unstoppable. Patrick Mahomes is playing arguably his best football he's ever played. Horrifying. And then that thing, you mentioned the Josh Allen thing. Josh Allen might be fun to watch, but when I watch Josh Allen, I worry that he turns into Cam Newton in the future.
Yeah.
When I see Patty Mahomes, I'm like, he's the only guy that's going to compete with Brady for the GOAT. Like, it's going to be Brady Mahomes. And I honestly think Patty, there's a chance with more Super Bowls, obviously, that Patty Mahomes could potentially be the greatest player of all time.
Yeah, it's going to be the Steph Curry versus Jordan thing where Mahomes is supremely talented and changed the way the game is played. But Michael Jordan, 6 Super Bowls. Brady has more Super Bowls than anyone. But is it going to come to a league, I wonder? Because Brady came up with going up against like Joe Flacco, Peyton Manning, guys who couldn't move. Are we going to look back in a few years like the NBA did with Bill Russell and being like, whoa, Brady wasn't even an athlete like that, when every quarterback's going to be as athletic as like Josh Allen and Lamar? Are we going to like ever look back? And I wonder like this, are we going to look back and have that conversation where it's like, well, those quarterbacks couldn't move at all. Like Phillip Rivers, Ben Roethlisberger, Eli Manning, and Brady. And then like Mahomes, like, yeah, of course he'd rather have him because he could also get you 100 yards rushing and throw for 55 touchdowns.
Yeah.
Is that going to be a conversation in the future?
I think it honestly can be, because you look at pretty much every team in the league right now, the ones that are struggling offensively are typically from quarterbacks that either don't run or can't run.
Yeah.
Like, if you can't run as a quarterback in this league, there's limitations that your offense can have. Even, I know that this is a horrible example, and I can definitely find a better one. The Steelers last year with Big Ben, horrible offense. Granted, they replaced them with Mitch Trubisky and Kenny Pickett, but the fact that they have an ability to move is going to help their offense in the future.
Yeah, well, Russ won't run. Matt
Ryan can't run. Look how bad that
Jacoby
offense is.
Brissett can't really run.
Yeah. So you get what I mean. At this point, you have to be able to move, and Patrick Mahomes is a very underrated runner. He looks goofy running, but when he moves, he can get his first downs. And
He's smart, too. He gets down.
He's a smart runner. He doesn't get hit. Patrick Mahomes is going to have a very interesting arc, and I'm excited to see it. Now we go on to